Here we go. It's a Monday evening, March 6th, the year of our Lord 2026, baby. Caleb Polking joined alongside Casey Schischler for arguably the biggest episode of the rundown all year. Let's go, baby. It's
We're
time.
here.
It's time. Buckle up. If you haven't buckled up yet, that's your own fault. But we're giving you one last chance to do it right now. We're being represented by the Mountain Time Zone tonight, which
Yeah.
Casey just brought to my attention the first time we've had another time zone represented on the pod. So, Casey, you want to tell everybody where you're at?
Yeah, we're out in Granby, Colorado, just about like an hour from Denver, out skiing with the fam on a little spring break, Um, got out on the slopes today. It was nice and snowy, and tomorrow it's supposed to be like mid 60s. So it's going to be very interesting to see. An absolute blast. But, we're always here for firsts, and it's great that there's a first time zone on such a big podcast. This is our Super Bowl, and to see a rookie get in and make a statement right away, it's always cool to see.
Yeah, I was going to say catch this guy on the 2030 Winter Olympics.
Yep.
Skiing. He was just talking about how he absolutely crushed a blue before we went live.
Yeah, crushed a blue crushed me back. That's just how it goes.
On the come up, baby. But let's go. We got a jam-packed pod for you guys tonight. We've got a bracket that has been revealed. We were hoping to do a live, kind of like a live reaction or a raw reaction pod last night to the bracket. I was in Kansas City. I was at the Big 12 tournament, and we stuck around for an extra couple days. And Casey obviously is out in Colorado, so it just didn't work too well last night. But I would say this is still fairly raw. As we talked about again before going live here, Casey, you and I are both still working on our brackets. From the sound of things, neither of us are even close to having them fully completed. So this is definitely still raw in some ways, still pretty authentic. But I like to think we both, just being the college basketball gurus that we are, we watch college basketball all year long. This is the pod that we work towards all year. This is it, baby. We've got so much to go over. We're going to go pretty in-depth on the bracket. We're going to take a look at each region, talk about who we think our winners are going to be, some sleepers, some cinderellas. And we're also, just fair warning for all who are listening, this is probably going to be a pretty analytical and nerdy pod. Casey, am I correct when I say that? This is going to get pretty geeky with the numbers, which, of course, probably isn't going to matter anyway because, as we know in years past, the numbers hardly ever reflect how at least the first couple rounds of March Madness go. Usually, though, they do reflect who ends up going to win the championship. So that's going to be big. Casey, man, any thoughts before we dive in?
Oh, it is that time of the year, man. We're finally reaching it. I just counted it up while you were talking. I watched 42 conference games. So, not my best, I will say. But, with school and work, obviously cutting into some of those, very disappointing. But I have watched every team on here, I want to say at least twice. The only teams I don't think I have are a couple of the 16 seeds. I don't think I've watched Howard or Siena more than once, maybe Prairie View A&M in there. But we've got a background on every single team. We live and breathe this. This is our big one. We're talking back and forth when the selection was coming out. We're like, man, this is our Christmas. A lot of kids wake up early and they run downstairs and say Santa's coming. We run downstairs and say the selection show's coming at 7:00 Central Time every single year. You best believe I was standing up.
We put out the milk and cookies for John Rothstein.
Yeah, for John Rothstein, Clark Kellogg.
R.I.P. Greg Gumbel.
Yes, the best to do it. But it is, man, we're finally here. And it's going to be an analytical, a numbers pod. we've got our raw brackets. We didn't mention that. We did both do raw brackets sitting down right after the selection show was done. And then we've both got our big ones to kind of go through and look at the numbers and stuff like that. And a lot of that will be talked about in this podcast. It's going to be a fun one. I'm super excited. It's going to be a long one. Hope everyone tunes in. And there's going to be a tournament challenge. So you best be listening if you want to have a chance to compete with us on our ESPN tournament challenge this year.
The third annual Rundown with Caleb and Casey tournament challenge. We'll make sure to, at the end of the pod, we'll talk about. Actually, we might as well do it right now while people are listening, because I'm sure we'll get into the weeds of this episode and get really geeky and analytical, and a lot of people will probably turn it off, which is fine. So right now, there's two really good ways to do this. If you're listening and you have a moment to do so, head on over to your ESPN Tourney Challenge app. That's where it's at. And type in The Rundown with Caleb and Casey. It should pop up, and just hit join, and it's public, no password needed. Am I right? Can you fact check me on that? That's the official name?
Yes, the one you sent me, that is the name of it.
Great. And most people who are listening to this know who we are. You have at least one of our contact info, so let us know if it doesn't work or whatever. We also do have a Twitter account that we have not used in a while. I suppose we might as well put the link on there too. So if you want to go check it out there, it's at @the_rundown pod on Twitter. Gosh, we used to pub that one at the end of every episode, and then nobody decided to follow us, so we kind of stopped utilizing that thing. But we'll throw the link on there. You can go find it there if you want. We might as well do it again this year. T-shirt for the winner.
Yeah.
T-shirt goes to the winner, which we didn't do last year. And I can't say I remember who won last year. Do you recall?
I want to say it was like one of your like cousins or something like that ended up winning it.
Okay.
Maybe an aunt or uncle or something. I know your sister was pretty high up there as well for a long time. I remember that.
Yeah, I reckon last year the group was kind of exclusively you, me, my family, your grandpa, Jake Euling, probably. Yeah. And then I think the person you're thinking of is Connor Demermuth. Shout out Connor. I know he's a loyal listener. I think he won. So that's our bad, Connor. I don't think we got you a shirt last year, but all the more reason to go show us all again your enhanced ball knowledge by joining the league. I know he will. But yeah, T-shirt, and that goes back. So the first year we did it, for those who don't know. This is the funniest thing I think has happened.
The best throwback we have.
Random guy, Trevor Perkins, not to be confused with Tyler Perkins, former Iowa State punter, who we don't have any connection with I think he was from the state of Virginia. We can say that now. We're 2 years out.
Yeah.
Won the league, won the bracket pool, and we mailed him a T-shirt. And we haven't heard from Trevor since, but I hope he got it, and I hope he wears it with pride. He sure should. So that's on the line for anybody who wants to join our league this year. Again, look up The Rundown with Caleb and Casey on ESPN Tourney Challenge. It's public. You can join it without any password. Good to go.
Perfect.
Sweet. Anything else, Casey, before we dive in?
I think let's dive into it. Let's start with the Iowa State Cyclones.
Let's go.
And their draw and path to the national championship.
Let's go. Yep, so Clones, a 2 seed in the Midwest region. Let's backtrack a little bit because we haven't been able to recap the Big 12 tournament yet. And gosh, it just, this time of year, things move so fast, right? Things get dated so fast, which is why it's really good we're doing this on a Monday, which gives a few days of wiggle room between now and when the tournament actually starts. So Clones obviously win 2 in Kansas City. I think we said on the pod, Casey, last week that we felt like the magic number was probably 2 wins in Kansas City, right? Get that 3-game win streak whatever happens against Arizona happens. If you win that 3 in a row, that means you win against Texas Tech, beat Texas Tech by almost 20. Granted, they're without JT Top, and that's a struggling team right now. Not sure what to think about them, but you beat them in dominant fashion and then went wire to wire with Arizona, which resulted in yet another absolute gut punch at the hands of the Wildcats. Different buzzer beater from a different guy. That was a heartbreaker. But Casey, after about just one night of sleeping on it, I didn't feel that bad. It was one of those things where it was like, man, you just kind of wanted to stay in a battle with Arizona, right? I think that was kind of all of our hopes going into that game. And the fact that you were right there and had a lead for a lot of that game, it stings even more because you could have had it. But you could make the argument too that it's better for this team to have that extra day of rest, right? Taman was having issues with his growing in that game. Joshua Jefferson was kind of having some knee issues in the game against Texas Tech with all the slipping on that glass floor. Could be a good thing for this team to get that extra day of rest and not have to play against Houston in another brawl in that championship game. So for all intents and purposes, I think I'm happy with the result of Kansas City for the Cyclones. Would have loved to have that iconic victory against Arizona, but I'm not losing sleep over it anymore.
No, it's like you hit on. The team was played, man, they played their hearts out. Hilton South was absolutely electric. It was a great place to be. I'll let you hit more on that in a minute. Um, but the team, they worked really hard, and we knew Arizona was going to be a tough matchup. I mean, going into it, I thought they were 1A, 1B with Duke for best team in the nation. And the Clones stuck there on semi-neutral site. You kind of, it's like half home, half neutral for Iowa State. But you were there until the very end. And unfortunately, the Big 12 Player of the Year showed you why he's the Big 12 Player of the Year. We might have gone a little bit too hard. That one might be on us. Same thing with the Caleb Love LinkedIn jersey just a couple of years ago. That one's on us.
You mentioned that. I got to tell you something. I don't think I told you this back on Friday when this happened. So Justin Casa, friend of the program, I don't know if Justin listens, but he's aware of the pod. We're both good friends with him. I happen to live with him in Ames. A good dude. Justin in a small group chat with about 4 dudes back on, I want to say it was Thursday. It was Thursday night. He texted us and he sent, this is going to blow your mind. He sent the same LinkedIn jersey and said, Jaden Bradley after tomorrow.
Man, we got to get that off our phones.
And I mean, is that not unbelievable? The first thing I did after that happened, after sitting there for about 15 seconds with my hands on my head, just in despondence, I went to my phone, went to check and see who Justin sent that LinkedIn jersey in regards to. And of course it was Jaden Bradley who hit the buzzer beater. Same thing that happened last year with Caleb Love hitting the buzzer beater after we sent the LinkedIn jersey. I can't believe it. It was like, how? How does that happen?
It follows us. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Ugh.
Next year, we are not sending the LinkedIn jersey for any Arizona game whatsoever. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Bryce James. It's just we can't. It cannot be spoken of. It cannot be sent electronically. It cannot even be in the smallest part of our brains because there's a humorous with that jersey that comes to bite us every year.
I really can't believe that happened 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row, the LinkedIn jersey is sent about a specific player. That specific player hits a buzzer beater against the Cyclones.
Surely can't happen 3 times, right?
I would agree, but to your point, I think we need to bury the hatchet and move on. because then we're tripling down, and we can't have another punch to the gut like that again. But back to your point, Jaden Bradley must have listened to this pod last week.
Yeah.
There must have been bulletin board material. I mean, not only the shot he had over Torre, and Torre could not have played better defense than that. That was stifling D. The previous possession, too, he hit a shot that might have been even more difficult over Torre again, who was playing great defense. And, you got to tip your cap. You just kind of have to. And Iowa State kept on hitting those shots down the stretch. Taman hits this downtown three to tie it up right before Bradley put it away. Pure cinema. I think it was like the last 11 shots were made in that game. Last 11 field goals were made, which is unbelievable. I mean, that the final 4 minutes were just great basketball. And sometimes you got to step back and just admire that, appreciate that you were part of that. Just sucks that you weren't on the winning end of it. But I think for Iowa State, just from listening to what TJ said in his postgame presser, what the guys said in their press conferences afterwards, it seems like this is going to be used for motivation rather than a stinger that's going to follow you into the tournament. I think Iowa State is very pleased with how they played in Kansas City, feels confident again for a number of reasons, and I think they should, right? So many things that were going wrong late in the Big 12 slate turned around in Kansas City that I think you have reason to be confident about going into the tournament. However, there needs to continue to be that sense of urgency, especially in the first 2 rounds. But, I think, Killian Torre, he was the one who jumped off the page to me in that semifinal game against Arizona, finally finding a shot again, which I think is a big X factor in the tournament, because that guy was afraid to shoot the basketball for a number of weeks in a row. Teams were sagging off of him, letting him shoot. He was airballing threes left and right. And then against Arizona, he got his swagger back, was hitting shots. He was getting fired up too. That's a guy who, he demonstrates emotion when he plays, right? Like, he's not your Joshua Jefferson, your Taman Lipsey. Like, he is, he's a fiery guy. And, man, it was good to see him get confident again, knock down some shots, knock down some threes. I think that's going to be huge for Iowa State. And just that instills confidence for the whole team, too, when they see that guy make shots that allows Joshua Jefferson to play his game better, that allows for teams to, not just double Milan every time, every possession, get super physical with him. It opens up so many things if he can continue hitting his shot.
Yeah, when you're one of the best defensive players on the floor every single night, and then you can come out and be, competent to a high level offensively and continue to put pressure on teams, so you're not just a one-dimensional threat. If you're one-dimensional, it is what it is. You go out there, you get stops, and he was right there with Jaden Bradley. I mean, almost every single possession. There wasn't really a ton of possessions where I watched him and I looked and I was like, yeah, I think he could have stepped up and done something better, and especially down the stretch. I mean, when you put your best defensive player on, what is the Big 12 player of the year, statistically speaking, he's the Big 12 player of the year. He's the only one with the title. And he guards him that well without fouling, and he still hits the shot. It's one of those where you just kind of, shrug your shoulders and move on.
Well said. And I think here's another reason why, I don't think you should hang your hat as an Iowa State fan or player on that. This tweet from Ryan Hammer, I think he actually retweeted it. Actually, no, it was his tweet. It was a screenshot from Bart Torvik. So Bart Torvik, again, here's where we're going to start to get into our metrics talk. For those who don't know, really reputable metrics database for college basketball. Casey and I like to tinker around on that website quite often. It's a key resource when you're filling out your bracket. So there's that. There's a feature where you can look at a ranking of how good teams in college basketball have been over a certain time frame based on the filter you put in. So For Ryan's tweet, he did the last 5 games. Okay, so for Iowa State, that goes back to the Arizona game in Tucson, which was really bad, right? That was a horrible shooting game. But then Arizona State and then the 3 games in Kansas City. So last 5 games, and then it ranks you again off of the Bart Torvik efficiency, combining offensive and defensive metrics. Iowa State in the last 5 games played is number 1 in the country. That was what Ryan found on Bart Torvik when he did that. So again, last 5 games played, according to Torvik, Iowa State is the best team in the country, and that's a 3-2 record too, which you would say, well, it's not even that great. But I think that goes to show how good the Clones were in Kansas City, right? They dismantled those first 2 teams and then went down to the wire with arguably the best team in the country. That is my takeaway from Kansas City, put into numbers as well, put into metrics. I mean, the one cause for concern for me, 2 actually, you still can't shoot free throws. And that just might be who you are at this point. Actually, it is probably who you are. I mean, that's not going to magically change heading into March Madness. So you're just going to have to hope that it doesn't matter. And then the other thing that I would be a little concerned about is Taman's growing, which I mentioned a little bit ago. It sounds though like it's not even close to what it was last year. I think he's fine. He'll play, I think, just fine. He's not going to sit. And he ended up coming back into the game after he went out against Arizona. I don't know. Do you have any reason for concern with that, or is that a nothing burger?
No, there's enough time,
Sure.
and especially you've kind of willed yourself to a 2 seed. And to me, it's looking at it, it's one of the better 2 seed matchups. Tennessee State's a good team. Don't get me wrong. I had them to win the conference and they did. So that was cool. But I do think it's a good matchup for Iowa State. You force a lot of turnovers when you get a lot of these low major teams. You can do that. I think Taman's going to be fine, with time, with ice. It's his senior year. He's going out. I mean, it's a guy that gives it his 100% every single night, knowing that any game could be his last. I'm not too worried about that issue lingering around. The adrenaline, the intensity that he plays with, I think he'll be fine.
So let's move on then. Let's use that as a segue into Iowa State's draw in the tournament. You mentioned Tennessee State. I'm a big fan of the draw for all intents and purposes. We can kind of dissect this bit by bit here. You mentioned Tennessee State. I don't know. Do you think there's any trouble with them? Do you foresee any sort of trouble with Tennessee State in this 2-15 game?
No, running off the Torvik stats, Iowa State gives up a lot of 3-point attempts, but they're also very good at guarding it. I think that also is a sign of how Otts plays his defense. You're not going to get a lot of 2s against them. I mean, Iowa State defensively is top 50 in the nation and 3-point defensive percentage, but they're towards the bottom in 3-point rate, which just means teams shoot a lot, but they don't make a lot. And Tennessee State doesn't like to shoot the 3. They're 344th in the nation in offensive 3-point rate. So they do not want to shoot the 3. They want to try and get downhill. They want to try and, speed the game up and force turnovers. They're top 40 in tempo, but their turnover defense is worse than Iowa State's. Iowa State's is 4th in the nation. Tennessee State's is 24th, and Iowa State clears them offensively. So I think, having played those tougher teams and having been tested against other teams that like to get up and force turnovers and, every day in practice having to go up against that, I think it's a very favorable matchup. And forcing a team that doesn't like to shoot the 3 and doesn't shoot it well, shoots it, 4% worse than Iowa State does. And that's the difference between being a top 50 team and below the 150 line. So they're, bottom half of the nation in 3-point percentage, and they're bottom 10 in the nation in 3-point rates, which is how often they're going to shoot each possession. So, the good news is you're forced a team that doesn't like to shoot the 3 to shoot the 3. The bad news is it's March. Some kid you've never heard of may go off for 30 points on 7 threes.
Always something you you just have to not expect, but you have to give way to, right? There's always that possibility. We've seen it happen so many times in these 215, 314, heck, even 116 games. We've seen it happen a couple times now, right? But I'm with you. This is a respectable OVC squad. The the one thing that I think, people can be concerned about again is that tempo. They play fast, right? 36th in tempo nationally. This team's going to move the ball quickly. Could speed up Iowa State a little bit, but again, the turnovers, right? They play really fast, but they turn the ball over a lot. 12.2 turnovers per game. That's 254th in the country. Not good. And what does Iowa State thrive on? Forcing turnovers. The Cyclones force about 15 and a half per game. I want to say that's top 10. Might even be pushing top 5 in turnovers forced per game. So that said, instant Iowa State advantage there. That's how Iowa State is going to win games in the tournament. And to start the tournament against a team that turns the ball over a lot, I think is good for this team to kind of get that one under their belt of just being able to kind of, impose your will and do what you do best. The Cyclones 7th in the country, 15.2 turnovers per game forced. So, they're going to speed it up quite a bit. Iowa State, obviously, a much slower tempo than that. But shouldn't see too much trouble in this one. I think you impose your will on this team. And like you said, too, where Iowa State struggles is when teams can break those high ball, top of the key traps and find the open guy behind the arc, and that guy sinks it, right? We saw it against Texas Tech and Ames notoriously. Tennessee State's not going to do that, right? If they can break the trap, like you said, they don't shoot the 3 ball very well. They don't like shooting the 3 anyway. So advantage Iowa State in a number of ways. I think the Clones are favored by 20-something in this one. Around 22, 23 maybe. So probably right where I would have expected it.
Yeah, Tennessee State's also a very two-headed team. They have Aaron, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Nkrumah, I want to say, is Nkrumah, Nkrumah. And then they have Travis Harper II, both averaging 17 points per game on 35 or more percent from 3. So those are the two big ones. Harper's averaging 40% from 3. But when you really look past that, they've got one other guy averaging above 10 points per game. And, down the board, no one's really shooting more than 25% from 3. So, you're going to have Taman on one of them. You're going to have Toure on one of them, and you can be fairly confident. And, we're going to get up and guard you and just not make you comfortable. The other thing is, they're not a crazy tall team. Their center usually runs at 6'8". They run 2 6'8" bigs. So that's Jefferson and Buchanan right there. You could put Milan on a guard for a couple possessions if they're really just trying to run them off screens. You could switch off that. Just have Milan switch it, get a hand up, and with his height, with his wingspan, it's really hard to shoot over. They're not going to get a clear line of sight. Might be very beneficial. So could be something to see. But no, it's, don't give up a bunch of turnovers. And as long as they don't hit 12 threes, I think this is the Cyclones game through and through. The 20 line it's always weird in March because I don't see anyone winning by 20 when I really look at it, but really like this matchup for the Cyclones. You've got 2 great defensive guards going up against 2 great offensive guards. It should be an absolute thrill to watch.
So let's say the Clones move on here from that first round game, and then you've got Santa Clara or Kentucky. I like this matchup for the Cyclones, whoever it may be. I'm having trouble. Part of me, honestly, would rather play Kentucky. I'm going to let you. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's tough. Kentucky's another team that does force a lot of turnovers, but Otega Owe is going to be a tough one for Toure to guard just because of his fierce, it's just strength.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bigger guard, more physical, can get downhill and score, can hit threes on you. He's just a great three-way threat. Um, and they have a couple guys that can really shoot the ball well. Um, Meanwhile, Santa Clara likes to get inside and score. And, they're actually ranked higher than Iowa State on 2-point percentage. And Iowa State's been fantastic on the interior. And it's a team that takes a lot of threes and doesn't shoot them. They actually are top 60 in the nation in 3-point rate and outside the top 100 in 3-point percentage. So it's another team that takes them, but that doesn't necessarily mean they make them. Again, that could be volatile in March. They could get hot. They could get going. That's a big reason why I think they could upset. I guess it's an upset. To me, Santa Clara's been a better team recently than Kentucky, and I think the numbers show that as well over the last 5 from what I remember from that Evan Maya. But it's two very similar teams that, yes, they could get streaky and go on a run. But the other good thing is Santa Clara cannot shoot the free throw well. They are bottom 20 in the nation in free throw percentage. Okay. So that is a big thing where Iowa State hasn't been great. It's nice down the stretch if you have a team that's actually worse than you at free throws, because when it matters, that's a huge statistic in March.
Good to neutralize that one. We just got done saying that was one of our biggest concerns, and so that's good to hear. Yeah, the line right now for this game is about 3.5 in favor of Kentucky. Now it opened at 2, so that's moved in favor of the Wildcats, and that tends to mean that the pros are hopping on Kentucky for that one. Who knows if that means anything? Yeah, you probably know what you're getting from Santa Clara, right? For the most part, I would say Kentucky is one of those teams that's kind of a wild card in this tournament, which is always scary, right? Listen, they are one of the most expensive rosters in the country. Kentucky spent so much money on this team, which, again, we know that does not translate to results. But
Indiana?
Yeah, exactly. Indiana.
$32 million to not make it?
Unreal. Darren DeVries, man, they're going to want him gone soon. And Mark Pope, again, here's another guy at Kentucky that
keeping the faith.
Yeah, he very well. I don't know if he's gone if they lose in the first round, but man, his seat is going to be really hot if they do. They're already not liking him down there in year 2. But I don't know, because Kentucky, they got a lot of talent, right? Otega Owe, you mentioned him. They've got a lot of talent on this roster. Mark Pope and his staff just didn't do a very good job of making the pieces fit, which is what really good coaches do, right? They get talent and they make the pieces fit. So I don't know. Can this team play together? Are they bought in? I don't know. They certainly could flip the switch and go on a run, which would scare me. Again, with the Cyclones, I go back to turnovers a lot because, again, I think that is the formula for success for this Iowa State team. It's forcing a lot of turnovers, which is what you do really good, and not committing turnovers in the offensive end near as much. Kentucky turns the ball over at a clip of about 10.5 per game, which is right about middle of the pack. However, they are 149th nationally in turnover margin. So I like seeing that, right? That is, again, that's probably about middle of the pack, but for a high major team, that's not a great look, because that means that they are not forcing a lot of turnovers on defense. So Iowa State can probably, play a little bit more clean in the half court, I'm guessing, against Kentucky if they were to match up with them, and can probably impose their will defensively too and force some turnovers. That's a team where it's like if Killian Torrey gets up in their face, Taman Lipsey, they play this rugged style of defense, I could see that team quitting, just with all those kind of talented guys, but I don't know how much they really care about, the name on the jersey and whatnot. I don't know. But yeah, it's tough to say who you'd rather get here. Again, I think that the scary thing is with Kentucky, you're not sure what you get. With Santa Clara, you know what you're going to get. Like you said, they're not going to shoot the ball out of the gym. They'll take good care of the ball, though. They're they got some size, right? Didn't you mention that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Interesting matchup. I like the Clones to move on again. I think you do too.
Yes.
Okay. So here's where we get to an interesting spot. So Iowa State in the Sweet 16. You are high on Virginia. You're a big Cavalier.
I am a big fan of this Cavalier team right now. And I also just am not the biggest fan of the matchup in itself for Iowa State because Iowa State's defense is really good. Virginia's is somehow better without turning over the ball or defensively forcing turnovers. So Iowa State, really good defensively, forces turnovers. They average 22.4 turnover rate, so 22% turnovers. Virginia is 15.6, which is 240th in the nation, which is bottom 100. But they rank above Iowa State in effective field goal percentage defensively. They are top 5 in the nation. Iowa State, for reference, is 50th. They rebound better than Iowa State. They're top 10 in offensive rebounds in the nation. They work hard. Their 2-point defense is 8th in the nation. Iowa State, which we talked about being a very good interior defensive team, is 100th. You know, their 3-point defense is 32nd in the nation. Iowa State is 67th. So, and they both teams shoot the three ball very well. So it's going to be two really good defensive teams that, are going to shoot a lot of threes, except Virginia's used to that. They're top 25 in the nation in 3-point rate. They like to get out and shoot threes, which, live by the three, die by the three. They could be a team that goes out and wins by 40 and hangs in there with Duke, or they could, lose in ACC play to Wake Forest. It's weird, but in March, you get the adrenaline going. I hate this matchup for the Clones. It is a very, it's two very similar styles of team. Great defensive teams that can shoot the three ball really well, that like to slow the pace of play down. Both teams are bottom 150 in the nation in tempo. So it's going to be a slow game, a defensive game. For sickos like us, that's what we want to see. We want to see great defense. We want to see, guys work for possessions, not just go out there and hit NBA threes, just get downhill, one pass, 3-pointer. It's going to be that game. Virginia hasn't played the same caliber of teams that Iowa State has, being in the ACC, but they've put up good fights against, Duke when they play them, against UNC when they play them, against Miami of Florida, another ACC team that people are high on. So it's just two very similar teams, and statistically, Virginia is just slightly better at it.
Okay. And you're right. I mean, what they did in the ACC championship against Duke, I think was very eye-opening because I don't think anybody really took them too seriously. Like you said, because of their strength of schedule, right? That's why they're a 3 seed. This Virginia team is 29-5, but their strength of schedule comparatively with the rest of the teams in that top 15 in KenPom, I think is the worst, second worst behind Gonzaga. Gonzaga's 87, Virginia is 70, right? And their non-con strength of schedule is not very good either. And I think it was until they went wire to wire with Duke that people just didn't really give them a whole lot of respect. And now they are, and I think rightfully so. I'm with you. I think this Virginia team's good. I think I'm a little bit higher on this matchup for Iowa State than you are. I think it's – and the thing is, too, this isn't your Tony Bennett Virginia team, which, again, I think that bodes well for them, right? They're going to score the basketball. They're not just going to slow this game down and play shell drill, right? That's not what we're doing here. So, yes, and two very similar styles. Slow tempo, playing really, really good defense. I just think I like Iowa State's offensive capability a little bit better in this one. Now, we know the Clones can go through a cold spell. I think that is what would, that is what would give Virginia the ability to win this game, right? If Iowa State does not shoot the ball well. Which you've seen them do it before, right? We saw them do it against Arizona. They could certainly show up in the Sweet 16 and do that. They did it against Illinois in the first half a couple of years ago in the Sweet 16. I just like Iowa State's ability to score the basketball at a higher rate over the course of 40 minutes than I do Virginia. It'll be a good game. It'll be a great basketball game in that Sweet 16. And then, it's like, if you win that, do you get Michigan? Do you get an Arkansas? This Midwest region is interesting, and we're going to get more in depth on that. If you were to give, and with the Virginia thing too, again, it's going to come down to turnovers, right? That's what you do well. That's your MO. We know Virginia does a really good job at guarding, like you just went through guarding the shot specifically. You just went through the metrics. You're going to have to force turnovers if you want to win that game. Could play Tennessee too. I don't know. Do you have any quick hits on Tennessee? I don't honestly know a whole lot about them. Rick Barnes, a great coach.
Tennessee is boxing out. Tennessee leads the nation in offensive rebounds and offensive rebound rate. It is, they're led by Nate Ament, who could be a really good NBA player, could not. I'm so iffy on him. But the good news about Tennessee is they turn the ball over a lot. They turn the ball over 2 to 3 more times a game than Iowa State does offensively. You got to box out, though. That's the issue.
Yep.
They also do not like to shoot the three-pointer. So Iowa State's going to make them shoot the three, but they also give up more threes than Iowa State. So I said Iowa State, bottom 60 in the nation in three-point defensive rate, which means they give up a lot of threes. Tennessee is bottom 20 in the nation. So it is going to be chuck it ball. And I don't think they have kind of the guard talents that we've seen them have in previous years that will take them, like a Dalton Connect comes to my mind, that can thrive in those type of situations.
Mm-hmm. And they are, they're a metrics darling. The metrics like them a lot more than the seed would indicate. They're higher on KenPom than 2 4 seeds, 3 5 seeds. So that they're 16th on KenPom. That goes to show the metrics do like them. And like you said, that rebounding thing, man, that sticks out big time on Torvik. Once you start kind of getting down that list, you don't see a whole lot of teams in the top 10 in anything, and they're number 1 offensive rebounding. So that's going to be something to look out for. If you were to give Casey Iowa State a grade based on their draw, when you factor in that first round matchup, when you factor in the region as a whole, the round of 32 potential I think you got to factor in the St. Louis component of it, right? That's big location wise. A lot of Iowa State fans are going to travel. Now, a lot of Kentucky fans there too. Mm-hmm. That is one thing that is also dangerous about that second round game, which now that I think about that, I think I might want Santa Clara versus Kentucky. Santa Clara over Kentucky in that second round because of that factor. Overall, everything, TV time or tip time, everything included. What would be
I'm gonna give it an A-, especially looking at some of these other routes. To me, the only kind of like easier route that I would give a 2 seed is UConn, and they have the hardest top half of the bracket in the east side. But you're in St. Louis, so it's going to be a great place. There's going to be a ton of travel. You're basically in a very nearby location to where you just played. I like the round 1 and round 2 matchups. I think are the easiest of any 2 seed. I think the Cyclones got really lucky. I do think that they have the hardest Sweet 16 matchup. But I think this is kind of their side to lose because they wouldn't stand well against a Duke, against an Arizona, against a Houston again. Which I actually had a Houston as a 1 seed. So it was kind of crazy to me that they were the top 2 seed and Florida gets the 1. Michigan's a very good team. I think Iowa State matches up well against Michigan. The issue is, how well can Buchanan be defensively will be the question in it. Other than that, you get Texas Tech, who you've played countless times. You know how they're going to play. And, maybe you get Bama, which will be interesting with how they shoot the ball. Maybe you get, St. Louis itself playing. I think it'll be interesting. I'm more worried about the immediate Virginia than Michigan down the road.
Hmm.
I think Michigan's a huge worry. There's a reason they're number one seed. I think they're one of the best teams in the nation. That's a given. Virginia immediately kind of coming into that second weekend is more of a worry for me than, okay, we're going to get down the road and get Michigan because, we're going to have a routine kind of end by then. We might be catching fire. We might be shooting the ball really well. They might be coming off. They've got some really tough matchups. That St. Louis team is a tough team to match up against them if they beat Georgia. I don't know how Georgia will match up against them. Haven't looked too hard into that. Then you got Texas Tech or Bama as well, which are two very good teams. Or, you've got Akron right there if Akron pulls off an upset.
Man, this is fun.
I love it.
This is fun. Thank you, March. Thank you, God, for basketball, for March Madness. Good stuff. Great analysis on that. I'm with you. I would go. I think I would probably go in A, honestly, just because I feel like this is the best draw Iowa State's had in a long time, as long as I can remember. If you remember 2 years ago, they were on that they were in that region with Illinois, UConn. I can't even remember what their draw was last year. That team, I just don't think it really mattered, with the Keyshawn thing and all that. I don't think they were going to go far.
They almost got Drake. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Would that have been in the round of 32? No.
Yeah, it would have been a round of 32 versus Drake, but Drake lost in round 1.
Did they lose to Ole Miss? Was that the team they lost to?
Can't remember if that. Yeah, and then Ole Miss beat Iowa State.
They were a 6 seed, 11 seed. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think it boded well last year in any way. But I'll go A. I'm with you that Sweet 16 one is certainly scary, but man, I just think this is Iowa State's best shot to get to an Elite Eight in a long time, and perhaps best shot to get to a Final Four in a long time too. Right? Like you said, I think I would. Obviously, it's Michigan. They're really, really good. But I wouldn't mind that matchup in multiple ways. So let's move on here. Go Clones. Tip off at 1:50 p.m. Central Time, I believe, on Friday against Tennessee State. Let's go, baby. Let's talk a little Big 12 before we analyze each region. Wanted to get your thoughts on Kansas's draw. What do you think about your Jayhawks here? 4 seed playing Cal Baptist. What day is that? What day do they play?
Thursday night, I want to say.
Okay.
I want to say they're like the second to last game.
Okay.
Which they were the year before, too. Because I was up late on East Coast time in Florida watching them.
Okay. I remember they played Duquesne really late one year, or who'd they play really late?
They played. Well, last year was Samford.
Samford, yes, that was who I was.
And Samford had the block.
Yes,
should have been a block. I'll say it as a KU fan. That's a block. And I had Samford winning that game in my bracket too, because I was done with that KU team.
No way.
And it was St. John's in round 2 as well, I want to say. And once again, getting St. John's in, St. John's or UNI, so you either get a team with a former KU player and Hall of Fame coach, or you get the hottest shooting, scoring mid-major in the nation right now in UNI. So it's going to be really hard. This Cal Baptist team, not worried about. I was actually happy. I think that was the best possible draw that KU could get in round 1, because you look at the other ones, and you got Hawaii. Don't like that. McNeese, okay. Akron, okay. Hofstra and Troy are the other two. I like their round 1, but everything after that, hypothetically, you've got St. John's and Duke. Man, you've got Hall of Fame coaches all up and down that top half. The whole, that side of the bracket as a whole is all Hall of Fame coaches. You've got Duke. You've got St. John's. You've got Kansas. You've got Michigan State. You've got UConn right there. The East is gauntlet. That is the tough one. I don't mind it. It's going to be so interesting. I'm going to say the same thing I said for my Big 12 prediction for Kansas. Darren Peterson and the whole team is either going to figure it out and they're going to find that new level and they're going to go on a run and finally prove what that they could be. Or they're going to do what they've done all year. They're going to show what they have been. They could get bounced in the round of 32. I don't see them going out in the round of 64 this year. They could very easily get bounced, if not crushed, in the round of 32.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly I have no idea what to do with them in my bracket. I'm with you. I don't think that Cal Baptist one has much concern. But yeah, regardless of who you play in that 5-12 game, and we can get into this more when we go region by region. I hate that draw for Northern Iowa in the first round against St. John's. I really wish they had a better matchup than that. But yeah, I don't know. This Kansas team will always have so much potential because of Darren Peterson. But again, like you keep on mentioning, the floor is certainly low because you just don't know what you're going to get. It's a wild card. I feel like there are more wild card teams in the field this year than there have ever been before, at least in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
They're just what Kansas, Wisconsin, Kentucky. I feel like
Arkansas,
for sure Arkansas. Good point.
even
Um,
Florida.
yeah, yeah. I St. John's is probably one too, where it's like who knows, just with their scoring inconsistencies. Yeah,
BYU.
so many go up and down the list. Um, let's okay. How what if we do a quick pivot here and instead of kind of dissecting other Big 12 storylines, let's just kind of mix in that with our region by region analysis. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
Does that work? Do you have anything else on Kansas?
Nope, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, let's dive in then. Now that we are 52 minutes into the pod, region by region, Casey and I are going to kind of give some quick hitters on each region, and we're going to pick our projected winner, a sleeper team, which is kind of a mid-seeded team that we think could go far, has the potential to, and then a Cinderella pick. Okay. Let's just start with the East, where we have Duke as the 1 seed. This is kind of the blue blood region, Casey. This is your Kansas region. Lot of Hall of Fame coaches here. It's just up and down the list. I'm certainly eyeing a potential UConn UCLA round of 32 matchup. Mick Cronin versus Dan Hurley would be cinema. What do you got for? I guess let's go. You can give your winner. I'll give mine. You give sleeper. I'll give sleeper. You give Cinderella. I'll give Cinderella. That work?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Starting with my favorite, I'm gonna take the number 1 overall seed. Duke. They are so talented. They are so good. Gonna be interesting to see. And I've said this to a couple other people. It reminds me of Dukes and Kentuckies of the past, where you're just so talented, but you're so young. And it's kind of tough to see, what that will truly become when it gets to March. But I still think it's a very good team. I think they've got a real shot at a Final Four, a national title, and all. I'm going to go with Duke as my favorite to win that side.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I think Casey got booted from the stream. So I don't exactly know how much you as the audience would have caught from what he said there. I know he had Duke as his favorite to win the East region. We'll try and get him back on here soon. Just bear with us here. So sorry. This is the worst thing to happen during our highly coveted March Madness. There he is. He's back. Okay, we good?
Should be back. Let's try it from
Okay.
the cell phone.
Okay, sounds good. I also I switched. We have a couple different Wi-Fi's in our house, and I switched from one to the other, so maybe that'll work better for my end as well. But I don't know how far you got before you got booted. I basically heard you say Duke, and then at that point the connection kind of stalled out on my end. So maybe just restart there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Duke. I've said in years past, it reminds me, or I've said to people, it reminds me of a lot of Kentucky's and Dukes of years past, where they're so young but they're so good. They
Mm-hmm.
could get bounced early in a tough matchup, or they could go all the way to the national championship. I don't think they win the national championship. Don't think a number one overall seed's going to do it, but I think it is going to be a very interesting and competitive team this year.
I'm with you on that. I think you pretty much hit on everything Duke-wise that I would have said. It's nice work. But Duke, for me, I think this region certainly poses – like, if I'm Duke, I'm not entirely happy about the draw here, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm honestly really not happy at all about the round of 32 potential, whether that be Ohio State or TCU. That's honestly a really scary part. And then, of course, you play either St. John's or Kansas. You have two Hall of Fame coaches there. The bottom half of the bracket I don't think is that great. So it's probably one of those things where if Duke gets the Elite Eight, I think they're in the Final Four. I'm just not super high on that bottom half. But, they will be challenged, I think, in multiple games in that second round and the round of and the Sweet 16. But again, they are so uber talented. Cameron Boozer is just he's a transcendent basketball player. So good at what he does. The metrics love this team, obviously. I just don't see a world where they don't get to the Final Four.
Yes. And into my quote unquote sleeper team, I got to do it. It's got to be the Jayhawks. Again, you don't know what you're getting with them. And that's the fun part of it. Terrible part as a fan, because I would like going into it knowing what we're going to get. But I don't like that matchup against St. John's, hypothetically, in round 2. And then you've got to go play Duke or TCU, which Duke's the number one overall team, and TCU just gave you a fit and almost came back with a minute left, down 15 in the Big 12 tournament. So very interesting to see how that goes. I think it'll be this team could be in the Final Four, or this team, like we've said, could be a 2 in barbecue.
And I've seen a lot of analysts saying the same thing, right? This Kansas team, they could be a Final Four team. They really could. They have the pieces to do it, to make that run. Again, another reason why I'd be scared if I was a Duke fan, just with all the different possible matchups you can get on the way to a Final Four. But, if things don't click, they could be out quickly. My sleeper team, and I don't know if you would consider this a Cinderella. I just don't, because they're a Power 4 team. They are a 9 seed, though. I'm going with the TCU Horned Frogs here as my sleeper team. Just kind of alluded to it a little bit when talking about Duke as the winner. This 8-9 game, whoever comes out of it is going to be a thorn in the side for the Blue Devils. I'm certain of that in that second round. And I think it's TCU to win that first one. I don't think they beat Duke, but I certainly think they give them a run. And I think the matchup between David Punch and Cameron Boozer specifically is going to be a good one. David Punch is a really good hooper. This TCU team defends really well. They don't exactly score the ball at a high clip. But I think David Punch can compete down low with Cam Boozer. Not that they're an okay rebounding team on the offensive boards. But again, their defensive metrics are where they excel, and defense travels in March Madness. And I think they have some good guards too. Brock Harding is a good point guard. I think that's a guy where, man, he takes really good care of the ball. He facilitates good offense for the Horned Frogs. I watch out for these guys. Watch out for these guys if you're Duke.
Yes, that first round game is going to be electric, and then whoever wins that second round game is also going to be electric. Duke kind of got the short end of the stick. It's going to be very difficult. Heading into my Cinderella, it's a team I actually believe can go very far. South Florida, the Bulls. This is a very good team. Wes Enos could be one of those guys that goes for 40 in a March Madness game and hits a bunch of threes, gets downhill. He is a very talented player. It's why I had them winning the conference. He's not even the conference player of the year. They have the conference player of the year in Isaiah Nelson, who averages a double-double and is very effective on both sides of the floor for them, almost averages 2 blocks a game as well. 5 guys averaging double digits scoring. They shoot the ball really well. They can defend really well. Any single one of them can kind of go off from 3-point. I mean, when you've got 3 guys that play quality minutes averaging over 34% from 3, you've got a real shot in March, and you can make some real things happen.
Casey, I'm going to stick with you, my friend.
Here we go.
South Florida Bulls. Great minds think alike. We like doing this on the pod. South Florida, for all the same reasons that you said, and again, I'm going to reiterate this. I don't think the bottom half of this region is that difficult. I certainly think I do think South Florida, even in my gut bracket, Casey, I don't know about you, I picked South Florida to win that first game.
Correct.
Against Louisville. You did too. Okay. And that's going to remain. Wouldn't be surprised if they beat Michigan State. I don't know what to think about this Michigan State team right now. I'm not sure where they're at mentally. They've got good dudes. But then it's like, do you play a UCLA, a UConn? I honestly would not be surprised if this South Florida team makes that 11 seed Elite Eight run. I really wouldn't. Sure, yeah, it's a Cinderella type of story, 100%. I just don't think I'd be that surprised. Again, this is another good metrics team. They're balanced, and they're going to speed you up too. That tempo, 15th in the country on KenPom. They're going to speed you up. They're going to force you to make some mistakes here and there. I'm with you on this one, Casey. Really like this South Florida team. Did you mention their offensive rebounding? I might have missed that.
I did not mention their offensive rebounding, but I also want to mention, and I mentioned this in the conference picks, they have a lot to play for with their former coach, Amir Abdur-Rahim, who was a very good coach, had that team on the come up just a couple of years ago, passing away. The team has so much to play for. They have so much heart. Hodgson's got them going in the right direction. It's such a talented team. It's one of those teams that, they go into March, and yes, they're a very talented team, but there's more behind them than just talent. They have, an extra oomph in their step, if you will, to play for.
Mm-hmm. And that, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say their offensive rebounding is 6th in the country on Bart Torvik. What you said matters way more than that. because we can sit here and talk numbers all day long and get really geeky on the metrics. That sort of thing honestly matters just as much, if not more, in March Madness, because as we have seen every year historically, these teams, these players aren't numbers. They're human beings, and emotions are at play. When you've got something to play for and you got a chip on your shoulder, that matters so much. Togetherness, culture, those things matter so much in this tournament. And so stuff like that moves the needle for sure. That can be the difference between two teams that are similar on a Ken Pom or a Bart Torvik comparison. So there we go. That's our East region. Any other thoughts on this region, Casey?
Gotta feel bad for Duke, man. That's all.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't say that often, that's a tough draw to get. And
That's the
by
number one
far,
overall. That's the reason why we feel bad
yes,
for him, right?
yeah. Objectively, it's bad for Duke. As someone who, wouldn't hate them losing, not that bad.
Mm-hmm. And again, I want to reiterate too. I am bummed for Northern Iowa. I thought they would get a better draw. I'm happy they're a 12 seed. I thought they'd get a better draw than St. John's. I think that's a tough out for them in that first game. I don't know. I could see St. John just kind of feeding Zuby Ejiofor. I don't know how you and I really matches up with that. Now they play good defense, right? You and I has good defensive metrics, but I just kind of feel like this St. John's team, is hot right now after the Big East championship. We'll see. We'll see what Coach Ben Jacobson, the seasoned veteran at UNI, can do in that first round game.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting.
Let's move on then to the next region. Let's pop down to the South, where Florida is the 1 seed, coming off of a major disappointing performance against Vandy in the SEC semifinals, right? Was that the semifinal game?
Yes.
Yep. Also, the region of the Iowa Hawkeyes, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and the Penn Fighting Fran McCaffrey's baby.
Our boys got it done, Caleb. The Fighting
Mhm.
Frans looked electric in both their games.
Was that not the lock of the century from the rundown with Caleb Casey?
That
Who
was.
saw
I
that
hope
coming
someone
aside
put
from
their
us?
house on it.
Oh, I hope somebody did.
Yeah, without
That
a
was
doubt.
fun. That was fun.
Hopping into my favorite. I'm gonna go with Houston. Actually, I don't think Florida is my favorite. I'm not big on the Florida team this year. Kind of reminding me of, was that 2017 or 2018 Virginia that lost to UMBC? Now, I don't think Florida's losing in round one. I'm not saying that, but I don't think this team coming off a natty is going to be as effective as they were in years past. And I think it showed in the SEC tournament. It showed all year. I think Golden's got a good team down there, but I just don't think this is the team to get it done this year. So I'm going to go with Houston as my favorite to win that side of the bracket.
I've also got Houston here. I'm with you. I think Houston's playing a lot better basketball than Florida right now. A lot of red flags in that Florida SEC tournament performance. And, we're also both Big 12 guys. Houston is just every year a metrics darling. They're a tournament darling. The way they play basketball, they're so good defensively. They force so many turnovers. Bart Torvik's got their offensive turnover percentage 4th in the country, defensive turnover percentage 13th. They crash the offensive glass. They defend super well, especially from the two. They're 9th in the country from that standpoint. And then, not to mention, they got a lot of guys who can score the basketball too, which is huge. Their guard plays really good. They say guards win in March, right? Kingston Flemings, the dude is a killer. He's an absolute killer. That Houston team almost beat Arizona. Arizona got tested by both Iowa State and Houston in the Big 12 tournament, and Houston certainly gave it all they had in that game. I think this team is as good as Emmanuel Sharp will take them in the NCAA tournament. He is the X factor. You know what you're going to get out of Kingston Flemings. I think Milos Uzan has taken a step back this year, unfortunately. That dude was really good last year. He just hasn't been. And I think, he was kind of the dude last year at times, and Flemings is now. JoJo Tugler is so good down low. Chris Sinak's a good player. Emmanuel Sharp is the X factor here. If that guy has a good tournament, and I think he will, he's a veteran, this team is a Final Four lock, in my opinion. So we're 2 for 2 on our winners so far, Casey.
Heading to my sleeper. I've actually got 2 sleepers in this one because I kind of have a not real sleeper in my other one. And also, I can't really pick between the two. I've got 2 SECs in Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. Many people will remember I was big on Texas A&M. They were my SEC tournament winner. They didn't do that. They got bounced.
Sorry.
But, oh, no, it is all good. But Vanderbilt is going to have a favorable matchup in round 1. I think everyone's going to blow smoke up McNeese because of what they did last year. And then they've got Troy in round 2 as a guarantee. Really like that matchup for Vanderbilt.
I see what you did there.
But man, this A&M team, as much as I love Houston, A&M is top 20 in the nation in tempo. They shoot the 3-point at a very good rate. They do not turn the ball over very much. I think that's a really tough matchup for Houston. I think if anyone's going to bounce Houston, I have a tougher time with that matchup against Texas A&M than I do against them playing a Florida or an Illinois. I think both those are very good teams. I think Houston's a better matchup for them. I think this Texas A&M team, because they're so fast, because they shoot the ball so well, because they have such veteran leadership, I think Buckyball could get it done. He's such a great coach down there. And it'll be very interesting to see Vanderbilt, when you play McNeese in round 1 and Troy in round 2, there's a good chance you get to round 3, and then you've got Florida, who you've beat before, right? And I know Florida's going to want their get back. But at that point, Vandy's going to be rolling. Tylen Tanner's going to be rolling. AKF Poro's going to be rolling. They're going to get it done no matter what. I think Vandy and Texas A&M have some real sleeper opportunities.
I am with you on – I just had one sleeper, and it was Vandy. I think people don't yet. I don't think people actually understand how good this Vanderbilt team is. Look at any metrics database. Again, the tournament is way more than that. The metrics would say this team is significantly better than a 5 seed. All right. If we look at Ken Pom, they are above a 3 seed in Virginia. They're above all of the 4 seeds. And of course, the highest 5. I mean, they're right behind Connecticut, who's a 2 seed in Ken Pom. And then Torvik would say the same. Torvik actually has them as the number 10 team. That's a 5 seed, sitting there amongst 2 seeds, 3 seeds. Really good offensive team. Really, really good. They can attack you in so many ways. They're also Ryan Hammer. Shout out him again. Great college basketball media personality. He does the trapezoid of excellence. Vanderbilt's right outside the trapezoid of excellence. Pacing wise, they're right around 70 in pacing, and then that net rating is just below 25, which is kind of the lower end to be in the trapezoid of excellence. So they're right there, which if you're in that trapezoid, the metrics say you got a good chance at going to the Final Four. You have a shot at winning a championship. Vandy, like you said, Casey, want to reiterate for those who missed it, guaranteed matchup against Troy in that second round. That's a win. And then, I think they beat Florida in that Sweet 16. I really do.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we've hit on it enough. The Cinderella team is obviously Troy. Really like that matchup in round 1 against a struggling team from Western Nebraska. them who shall not be named will play. Really excited for that matchup. I think, Troy is they're just such a good team, man. Such a tough out. I think that this Troy team is going to surprise some people. They don't turn the ball over. They force a lot of turnovers. They shoot the ball better than most teams, and they've got a good tempo. And I just I don't see how they lose in round one. So you get to round two, you've got to play Vandy. It's going to be a really tough one, but hopefully you've got that momentum rolling from the conference tournament and the round one victory, and maybe they can make something happen in that round of 32.
I like it. And I think I would have said Troy too. I decided to go with a different one since I figured that was going to be yours. I opted to go with our Fighting Friends. Now, I'm just going to be real. I think they run into a really tough first round game against Illinois. That team's good. That team can shoot the ball out of the gym. Keaton Wagler and those guys. Penn is a good defensive team, though. All right, they're actually not that bad. 111th is their Ken Pom defensive rating, which is pretty good for a 14 seed. And Bart Torvik's going to tell you more or less the same story too. They're actually 26th in the country in I can't even find the metric here. Never mind that. This is bad radio. They're 26th in the country in some stat. Now I lost it. But bottom line, now this is where teams like Illinois can run into trouble because they don't play great defense. Now they're not like those Fred Hoiberg Iowa State teams, high flying, just shoot the ball, no defense at all. But they're kind of like a scaled back version of that, where they're still, they don't play great defense. And if you run into a team like Penn who does play good defense and they find a way to shoot the ball, like you said, some random dude like a TJ Power comes out and
the TJ Power
lights out, yeah, you could run into trouble. So I wouldn't just pencil in Illinois as automatic here. Look, I think Illinois is really, really good. I think they're fine. Watch out for Penn, though. Here's what would be crazy, because it's almost too good to be true. If Fran McCaffrey goes further than Ben McCullum and the Iowa Hawkeyes, that would be one of the funniest storylines ever. And I don't think the national audience has caught wind of this. I just don't feel like I've seen, and they're in the same region too, which is even more crazy. I don't feel like they've caught wind of this just because it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not like a huge story, but it is a story. And for us who, big Cyclone fans, obviously we follow the Hawkeyes a little bit. This is possible. I think Iowa's a tough matchup against Clemson in the first round. And all it takes is a crazy upset from Penn to send Fran McCaffrey further than Iowa in year one.
Yeah, without a doubt. Pulled it up for you. They're 26th in the nation in defensive free throw rate, so they don't foul much.
Okay.
More importantly, they're 11th in the nation in three-point percentage. Now, they're 270th in three-point rate, so they don't shoot the three. But when they do, it will go in.
It goes in. All right, Fran, shoot it more, buddy. Dang, I didn't see that. Wow. Okay. Well, let's move on then to the West region, where the Arizona Wildcats, the reigning Big 12 champions, are the 1 seed. You've got some wild cards in this region: Wisconsin, Arkansas, BYU. You've got the Big 10 tournament champions and the Purdue Boilermakers. Interesting region here, Casey.
Yeah, Caleb, but nothing is more interesting than a 1 seed who's really good at basketball. And Arizona is my favorite. I thought Arizona was arguably the number 1 team in the nation and was going to get the number 1 spot. During this long drive down to Colorado, I actually, with my no signal, created an entire sheet for where I thought everyone was going to go and what seeds they were going to be, almost like my own bracket. And I had Arizona as the 1 seed until about halfway through the drive. where I just felt that ESPN was going to put Duke there. I thought Duke had a really good resume, but I think Arizona's a better team, and it's a team that doesn't have to rely on the 3-pointer. Now that could be interesting. They can shoot the three very well. They've got some fantastic 3-point shooters. But as a team that doesn't really rely on the three to score, when you get to these games in March, sometimes you kind of need to have it to get going. But when you have Burries, you have Bradley, things are going to happen. You're going to be able to shoot threes even when it's necessary. And when it's not, they might have the best front court in the nation, maybe behind Duke. That's kind of my 1A, 1B in all sorts of things. It's Arizona and Duke are 1A, 1B when you look at front courts, when you look at, most talented teams in the nation, when you look at teams that I think have a chance of winning it. Dude, Arizona has let me down quite often, unfortunately, when I picked them to win it, but there's no year like the present.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I'm with you on Arizona. This team has demonstrated how good they are, how many ways they can honestly score the basketball. I mean, Anthony Del Orso, there was not a guy in that T-Mobile Center that was more angry at Anthony Del Orso than I was on Friday night. I could not stand that guy. He just would not miss. But they got so many dudes, Karchenkov, that's a guy who showed up big time in the championship. Braden Burries didn't play well against Iowa State, played really well in the championship game. Pete. We obviously haven't even mentioned the Big 12 Player of the Year, Jaden Bradley, but I can't do that anymore because he made the buzzer beater. They just have so many pieces, and their front court is dominant too. It's like you say guards win March, and they have the guards, and then they also have just this imposing front court. Toby Awaka, who can stand, aside from Zuby Ejiofor, who in the country could stand down there and muscle with that guy and actually stay competitive, right? This team's really, really good. They could run into some trouble with a Wisconsin and Arkansas. I just see them outlasting a team like that over the course of 40 minutes.
Yeah, and then you have Krivas as well, who is arguably the best center in the Big 12, which produces centers year in and year out.
Right.
They're such a good team. I just struggle to put young teams going far. I have always caught myself that when you get to March, when it gets down the stretch, you need veteran leadership. They do have veteran leadership on that team. In Bradley, in Awaka. They are so young, though, that it's the same thing with Duke. They're so talented, but the youth scares me off a little bit. I do think not only do they make it to the Final Four, I think they have the best chance to make a run at the national championship. My sleeper team is going to be a team that the metrics say are very similar, even better offensively, not quite defensively. It's the Calipari Arkansas Bulldogs, brought to you by Tyson Chicken Nuggets. It's a very good offensive team. Cuff is do I want to say he's the best guard in this tournament? I think I'm going to. I think he's the best guard in this tournament.
I wouldn't disagree. I would not.
He's just automatic when he scores. He's great at iso ball. He's great at leading an offense. They are the number one turnover offense for a reason. He leads them. He controls the ball. They shoot the two very well. They're top 50 in the nation in 2 points, which is actually better than Arizona. They're also top 10 in the nation in 3-pointers, and they don't rely on them either. They're bottom 100 in the nation in 3-point rate. So they don't have to shoot it a lot. But when they do, they're top 10 in the nation. So it will be very interesting to see how much they're going to rely on the three ball. Unfortunately, they take on our Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who play a very interesting style of defense that does a lot of iso ball. So it'll be interesting to see how that matches up with a Cuff, with all of these guards that Calipari brings every single year to play in March and to get things done. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And then in round two, Malik Thomas and Billy Richmond really stood out to me in the SEC tournament. And then you have Trevin Brazil as well, who is another great forward. Arizona has their work cut out for them with Arkansas. And Calipari, he wants it, man. I think he wants it with Arkansas this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real shame our Rainbow Warriors got to go up against that team in round one. Tough draw. But I'm with you. I've also got Arkansas as my sleeper team. I think you pretty much said everything. It comes down to Darius Akef and John Calipari, right? You don't have to tell me much else. If you tell me that Darius Akef is on the team and John Calipari is their head coach, I'm just not going to count them out in any way, shape, or form, because you've got a dude that's an absolute killer, and you've got a coach that has won a national championship. Granted, he's certainly underwhelmed at Kentucky later on in his tenure, but he knows how to win in the month of March. This team is electric offensively. They can get really hot. They don't play great defense, so of course that's the danger. If they're not having a great shooting day, they could get bounced early, right? That could be that first round against Hawaii. But if they get hot, watch out. If you're Arizona, watch out. They take really, really good care of the ball as well. They're going to be a hard team to force turnovers against. Shoot the three ball really well. Just another metrics darling.
And while they are my sleeper, they have to run into my Cinderella in round one. And that's devastating for them. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, our Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, have a great shot, Caleb. They do not force turnovers defensively. They do turn the ball over offensively. They do not shoot the ball great from three. But you got to believe, and no one believes like we believe in our Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, Caleb. And also, I don't have a ton of Cinderellas in this region.
I love it. We have hashtag crazy faith.
Yes.
Like Jerome thing. Hey, you see K-State, our friends down there in Manhattan got their guy.
They did not. Who'd they get?
Same name as you.
Oh, he must be good.
Yeah. Casey Alexander, right? Isn't that the Belmont guy?
They got the Belmont guy?
Yes.
Oh,
yep. Casey, I think it was Casey Alexander was his name.
It is.
Yep.
That's devastating because they need to stop hiring guys I like.
Right. Can't do that. It's like Colin Klein in football.
Yeah, I love Colin.
I do like Colin Klein.
They're going to shoot the ball so well next year. Who's Cade Tyson is a Casey Alexander product. Former UNC, now one of the best three-point shooters for Minnesota.
That is actually a massive upgrade from Jerome Tang.
Where was Jerome even at before K-State? I feel like he just existed.
Just appeared one day. He was Scott Drew's assistant at Baylor. You know, there's a theory, though, and I'm starting to believe this, because before these two guys left, Scott Drew's staff consisted of Jerome Tang and Grant McCasland. And Jerome Tang left, and he had one good year with Bruce Weber's players, and then he stunk. And Scott Drew, ever since McCasland left for Tech, has stunk. And Grant McCasland, at Tech has been good.
Good.
I have a theory that he was the key at Baylor. He was.
That's not crazy, Caleb.
Does he take credit for that national championship? Is it even Scott Drew's? It might be Grant McCasland's.
If JT Toppin didn't get hurt, he might have his own this year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you entirely. Casey, I gotta let you know who my Cinderella is for the West region, okay? And this is my trademarked Caleb Holking lock of the pod. I'm just kidding. It's not a lock because I don't think it's gonna happen. But this is still my Cinderella team, okay? Nobody saw this one coming. I'm going to go with the ASUN champion Queens.
The Purdue hate is so here. We both have Purdue out early.
I knew you'd be a fan of this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Big Ten and Purdue hate on this pod. The Queens University Royals. Come on, man. The ASUN tournament champions. Here's the thing about this team. Okay. So they're 77th on KenPom offensively, which is actually really good for a 15
That's
seed.
pretty good.
That's for a 15 seed. That's really good. That's a rare thing to see. Okay. They don't really play defense at all. They're 322nd nationally in KenPom. Okay, so they're not going to play defense at all. This team is going to need to light it up from the field in that first round to win. But we've seen in the past that's how Cinderella teams do it. They just get hot in one game, and that's all it takes. Okay, this team has 6 guys that score in double figures. 6 guys. Nasir Mann, their leading scorer, averages 13.4 per game. Carson Schwieger, the bottom of that 6, averages 10.2. They've got guys intermixed there. 6 guys that average double figures. They have so many scoring opportunities here. I wouldn't be so surprised. Listen, I get it. Purdue looks really good in the Big Ten tournament, but we can't forget about how shaky they looked at times earlier in the year. If they don't show up in that game, Queens can light it up from the field. I just don't know. This is an interesting one. I'm eyeing this one very closely.
It's Matt Painter in March, too. It's
It
the
is.
opposite of Tom Izzo.
Good point.
It is.
Death taxes, Matt Painter being bad in March.
And I have Purdue out early. Now, not Queens early, but
Okay.
I would love a Queens win.
Oh,
I have them out in round 2. They're gone in round 2, which is awful because my 2 least favorite schools of all time play each other in round 1 and then play Purdue.
and you have them. So who do you have beating Purdue?
I have a team that is right next to the state of Kansas.
Oh, man.
Who shall not be named, who was almost your alma mater.
Wow.
Winning 2 games.
I am impressed that you were able to send that team to the Sweet 16. I would never send the Iowa Hawkeyes to the Sweet 16.
But it's Matt. You have to. It's Matt Painter.
You're right. You're right.
Yes. Unfortunately, they got an easier draw than Troy, and it's Matt Painter in the month of March.
Nebraska is slightly better than Matt. Are we sure about Nebraska's never won an NCAA tournament game?
Matt Painter lost with Zach Edey, though. You got to remember that. He had Zach Edey and somehow lost a game, and he basically has retained the same roster except Zach Edey since then.
That's pretty hard to do. They lost to FDU with Zach Edey. That's so bad.
A coach who went to Iona and then got fired.
Oh, man. Was that the team that had who was the guy that was a lottery pick?
Edey.
No. They had a guy with Zach Edey a number of years ago. Was it Ivy?
Oh, Jaden Ivey. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Jaden Ivey.
They got bounced early with him, too.
Wow. How
I
bad
think
is
that
Matt
was the
Painter?
team that lost to St. Peter's.
Yeah.
Because St. Peter's beat Kentucky, Murray State, and then Purdue.
Queens has got to win, right?
Come on, Queens.
The funny part is, in my gut one, I had Queens written down, erased it, wrote Purdue, erased it, and then put Purdue back. I couldn't get myself to do it.
That's fair. For the record, I don't think it'll happen, but I think the numbers would say it's possible.
I mean, if any 15 seed wins, that's your best bet right there. That is arguably the best 15 and the worst 2 seed.
Man, if
And
I'm
maybe,
Purdue, I don't like that. I mean, you got to guard so many guys if that's the case. 6 guys in double figures. That's nuts.
dude, Matt Painter's got to come out on the floor and guard somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have Zach Edey. What do you
Right.
do? You have almost Iowa State player Oscar Clough
Oscar Clough. One
and
of the
12th year
all-time
senior
what-ifs.
Braden Smith at the helm.
All right, let's go to the Midwest here,
Gonna
where
go to
Michigan is the 1 seed, and your Iowa State Cyclones are the 2 seed,
Michigan
and
State.
Hofstra is the 13 seed. All
And the
right,
Cyclones are the favorites for Casey. I really like this Michigan team. Don't get me wrong. I just like Iowa State's draw more, which is weird because I have that Virginia team in the Sweet 16 playing the Clones. But if they can beat them, I don't see what's stopping the Clones getting to the Final Four.
dude, we are 4 for 4 on our winners here because I've got your Iowa State Cyclones as well. The basketball program from the Iowa State University of Science and Technology going to their first Final Four since 1944. It's time, baby. It is time to do it. It's time. You've got the draw to do it. You've got the team to do it. You've got the momentum to do it. I think everything lines up really well for the Clones here. I'm with you. It's a tough test in that Sweet 16. But I think the first 2 rounds are really favorable. I think Michigan in the Elite 8 is the most favorable 1 draw you could get. Man, I love the possibility here for this could be a really, really special tournament run. This could be really, really fun. One other thing to add here, I forgot to mention earlier. I just wanted to throw it out there. Just good perspective. I think people sometimes have a hard time, stopping and smelling the roses. There's 2 programs in the country that have been a top 3 seed 3 years in a row. Just 2. Can you name them?
It's the Iowa State Cyclones, Caleb, at a 2 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And then I'm going to go with Houston as a 1 seed, 2 seed, 2 seed.
It is Houston. Well, I think you're exactly right, too, on the seeding. That's it. Those are the 2 teams. So a sign of the times, that's really, really good stuff. Iowa State has been very consistent under TJ Otzelberger. Now's the time, though, to make the run, right? You got the Sweet 16. Last year, unfortunately, just kind of fell apart towards the end. You're a healthy team. You're deep. You've got the scorers. You've got the defense. You've got the draw. Here we go.
The only worry is the bench. The bench is good, but it's not like other teams where you've got a guy coming. You don't have a Cujo coming off the bench,
True.
where granted he was basically a starter, but
Yep.
a player of that type of caliber, you've got great guys coming off the bench still. It's a very good team, but that's my only worry with this team is, how deep can they truly be when it matters? And they've shown it very well in Big 12 play. But guys can go down. We see it all the time. And then it's next man up. And I think the culture's there. We talked about culture and buy-in, and it's definitely there in Ames. But, culture and buy-in are one thing. Scoring points is another. And that's my only hang-up with the Cyclones, which is why my sleeper is Virginia. Why I had 2 sleepers on the other one, because Virginia's a 3, doesn't really count. But, man, this Virginia team could be good. It's going to be such a tough game, and it's a game that granted, I have not picked on my actual bracket because I don't know if I want to just yet. Looking at it, I don't know if I want the Cyclones to lose, and I don't know if Virginia's got enough to win. It's going to be a really tough one. I really like this team, and they're trending in the right direction when it matters.
So, if you're a bracket filler and you're listening, what you should be taking away from this right now is that regardless of who comes out of that bottom half of the bracket, blindly take them to beat Michigan, because Casey and I are the authority on college basketball, and we're both saying, hey, Iowa State's the favorite, but if there's one sleeper, it's Virginia. Those two teams likely match up. Whoever wins that, take them to beat Michigan. You'll thank us later. I have, and this is going to be in that same conversation, that same breath. I took a while to kind of figure out my sleeper here. I ended up going with Tennessee. We talked about them briefly earlier. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. Again, metrics darling. They're similar to Vanderbilt, where the metrics would say they're a lot better than the seeding would maybe clarify. Just had a weird roller coaster of a year. They don't move the ball very, very fast, but balanced team. They play really good defense. And then, like you said, too, this was the number one team in the country in offensive rebounding, and extending possessions, creating more shots is a very predictive metric of success in March Madness. So I think that's something that you should really look at. And then the other thing too, Casey, Rick Barnes is their head coach. He's up there. He's, had a lot of success, right? I think he's still one of the more underrated coaches in the country. I really do believe this. I think he is not talked about enough, just because he's never really done anything that. Has he won a national championship?
I don't think he has.
Okay. I have no idea, honestly. But he's just a very consistent head coach. He's been around a long time. He's one of those guys where, he's been in March a lot, and some of these guys haven't. And so that's something I think you look at too.
Yeah, that team's going to be very interesting. I just don't know what to think about them. They're a good team. I don't know what to think about them. We're going to round it out with my sleeper in the Midwest. St. Louis Billikens, Caleb. And it's a terrible matchup for Michigan in round 2.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the metrics, both teams are top 15 in the nation in 2-point offense and defense. St. Louis is top 10 in the nation in 3-point offense and defense. Michigan is 50th and 10th, respectively. Both teams give up a lot of threes. Both teams are top 23 in the nation in tempo. It is just, and St. Louis is one of the best teams when you look at the trapezoid of excellence. That's a mid-major.
Mm-hmm.
They are just outside of it, just below Florida. It's a very good team. Top 50 in the nation on KenPom in offensive and defensive rating. Their opponents are the only iffy thing. But you look at the team, they have 7 players averaging 9 points or more, headlined by Robbie Avila, who has been a March Madness legend for years now. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the goggles legend, will be playing. That's just a tough matchup for Michigan. That game, I have not picked. It is the only game, I believe, in my round of 32 I do not have picked yet. I just can't make the decision. Michigan's a really good team. I think the St. Louis team is also really good. It's a really tough matchup for Michigan.
I like it. I like it a lot. There's a couple 8-9s here that I think could really challenge these 1 seeds. My Cinderella pick, that was your Cinderella, right?
Correct.
Okay. My Cinderella pick, I'm going with the Akron Zips, the MAC tournament champion. We all thought it was Miami of Ohio, ended up being Akron. This Akron team does not play defense, okay? But again, kind of like with some of our other Cinderella teams, right? It just takes one guy to pop off the page. This Akron team shoots the 3-ball really, really well. Torvik has them as 7th in the country in effective field goal percentage. Very good predictive metric. They're in the top 20 in 3-point percentage. They're going to shoot 1 million threes against Texas Tech. Texas Tech is going to shoot 1 million threes back at them. If you're a betting person, again, this is not gambling advice, but take the over in that game because it's going to be hit. It's 2 teams that don't play a whole lot of defense, but they shoot the ball a lot. and shoot a lot of threes. I'm not very high on Tech right now. I think they had the dead cat bounce with JT Toppin. I think they've come back to reality of what life is like without him. I really think Akron can win that 5-12 game. That's a big, red alert 5-12 upset. And then, man, Alabama is a team that is very similar, I think, to Texas Tech, and one that Akron would match up well with in that they just don't play a whole lot of defense either, right? They're third offensively, but 67th in defense. That's kind of the Nate Oates method. And gosh, I mean, I wouldn't be that surprised if they make a run to the Sweet 16. And then what happens from there? I don't know.
And Aiden Holloway was just arrested before the start of 25 minutes before the start of the podcast. So we do not know his availability. So Akron could run into two teams missing their leading scorers and their best players.
Wow.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah, that bodes well. That bodes well for the Zips. All right. Well, we did it. We went through it all. We're at an hour 46. Did we tell you this is going to be a long pod? Real quick, Casey, any more thoughts on the bracket as a whole?
Man, it's going to be – you're listening to the right guys because Caleb was 11 of 31 on conference champions. I was 13 of 31 on conference champions. You're listening to the guys who know it all, who live and breathe this. But one of us, too, is going to have a perfect bracket, Caleb. That'll be the interesting thing to see.
Yeah. Good point. There's always a return to the mean.
Yeah. We hit the low side. Now we have to hit the high side.
Our return to the mean is a perfect bracket. Wow, I didn't realize it was that bad for our conference tournaments.
Yeah.
But we picked the Ivy League champion correctly, the Penn Fighting Fran McCaffreys, and for that we can hang our hats.
We had 7-8 conferences where we both picked the same champion, and it was right. It was High Point in the Big South, Troy in the Sun Belt, LIU, Hawaii, of course, and USF, Duke, and Howard.
Okay.
So we know ball.
And then who did you have in the Big East? Did you have St. John's?
No, I took UConn. I took chalk, and you went Nova.
Nova. Yeah, that was okay. That was probably a bad decision.
Not terrible. It's the Big East.
What were those records again? Could you repeat them one more time?
Caleb was 11 of 31, which brings you to 29 and 56 overall. I was 13 of 31, which brings me to 40 and 45 overall for picks.
Okay. Well, I think it's safe to say you've got this one just about locked up. That might be the end of picks for the year. I think you solidified it, right?
We'll probably do Final Four and national championship, and then from there, maybe a couple Orioles Royals games, and that'll wrap it up. My first year winning.
You're comfortably in the driver's seat, Casey. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
A rather uninspiring year from the collective rundown picks, but
our first year with the winner under 500.
Wow.
Actually, the first year where we have both been under 500.
We were both above 500 our first year, right?
Yeah, you were 63 and 26. I was 46 and 43. Last year, you were 74 and 52, and I was 69 and 57. So this is our first time ever under 500.
Wow. Dang. That's a big regression. Okay, let's wrap it up here with a little 3-for-3 action, yeah?
Let's do it. And Caleb, I have good news. There's no not 3-for-3. There's only 4 good things to say.
I like it. Me too, by the way.
Love it. It's just that time of the year. And my number 4, we're starting with Miami of Ohio getting the nod in over Auburn, setting the tone beautifully for March Madness.
Sorry, say it again.
Miami of Ohio over Auburn
Yes,
getting in.
I like it. I really like it. There was a little bit of worry with the Redhawks losing in the MAC tournament. That would have been a travesty had they left out a one-loss team
Yeah.
in a mid-major conference. And I'm glad the committee did the right thing. I think the committee honestly got it all the way right with the field. Now, I think there could have been some differences in specific seeding, but the teams that got in, I don't think they missed a team.
Yeah, I would agree.
For my number 4, I don't know if you saw it. There was this wiener dog race at the Green Bay Gamblers hockey game this past week. It was awesome. It was a wiener dog race. There were probably like 20 wiener dogs that raced from one end of the rink to the other end. And I think the wiener dog who won was named Isaac. Isaac was the champion. Really good stuff.
There we go. On ice is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah. There were only a few of them who were actually moving from one end to the other. The rest of the wiener dogs just kind of all stayed stationary and couldn't really move that much. But yeah,
they were discussing the Rundown's latest podcast. That's what they were discussing.
Of course, as they should.
Caleb, my number 3 is a callback to last week where we had U.S. Paralympic hockey winning 14-1 over Italy. They now stack a 13-0 win over Germany with 41 shots on goal to Germany's 1, and a 7-1 win over China with 31 shots on goal to China's 9, and China was the number 3 team entering. So they have given up 10 shots on goal in 6 15-minute periods. Pretty easy job to be that goalie.
Yeah, it's pretty dang good. My number 3, we're going to take a rare deviation from sports here. This is freaking awesome, though. It was announced this week that the oldest living land animal on Earth is a turtle named Jonathan, who is 194 years old.
He's what?
194 years old. He was believed to have hatched around 1832.
And he's never seen a Nebraska March Madness victory?
You beat me to it. Well done. That was one of those, I'm D Wade, you're LeBron with the lob there.
Throws his arms up. Yep.
Yeah. The lob.
Teed it up for me, Caleb.
Finished. Well done. Yeah, dude, Jonathan, what a just example of tenacity, grit, determination. That guy's been through it all. I mean, we're talking pre-Civil War turtle here. Pre a lot of things. He's seen a lot happening in this world, and you're right. He has never seen a Nebraska NCAA tournament victory. That's pretty insane.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
This year, he might just decide he's done. His time is up. He's not going to see another chance.
It's got to be the year, man. Except they have Colin Rice next year. He's very good at basketball.
True.
And it's also crazy to think about. We've never seen a Big Ten national champion, So,
Makes you think.
My number 2, we head to Maction softball. Speaking of Miami of Ohio, the classic 2-8 double play to end the inning.
Central Michigan double play?
2-8 double play. Central Michigan comes in, runners on first and second, tries to get a bunt down, pops it up. Miami, Ohio catcher dives, bare hands the snag, and throws it down to second, where the center fielder is charging in from the outfield to get the runner who had taken off right as contact was made and didn't make it back in time.
Wow. Oh, that's 2-8 double play. You never see this. That is ultra rare.
That might be the only one ever.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, what other situation does that happen other than that right there, right? Runners aren't going if it's just a regular pop-up to the catcher.
No,
Good
I
find,
don't know.
Casey. Action softball, 2-8 double play.
Come for the March Madness breakdown. Stay for Action Softball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Loyal listeners know that they're getting this in the 3 for 3 segment. My number 2, man, I just got to give a shout out to Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament. Holy mackerel. Third time being down there. I'm bummed. You know, the last 2 times I went, Iowa State won it all. It's okay, though. Saw some elite basketball. And just the city, the way that city embraces it, the Power and Light District, the vibes. They have the College Basketball Hall of Fame right next to the arena with a really cool museum in there. And just, you know, fan bases travel really well. Look, I get it. It's far away from some of the West teams. I get it. You guys came from the Pac-12. We gifted you a spot in the conference. Do not move this tournament to Vegas. Do not move it to Dallas. It would do a disservice to this league and the tradition of the conference tournament. And there were still a lot of BYU fans there too. Granted, BYU fans are everywhere. I thought Arizona traveled pretty well. Houston traveled pretty well, right? When K-State is good, when Oklahoma State is good, they travel well. It's dependent on if you're good or not. It's less of a location thing than it is a whether or not you're good thing, right? So when you're good, your fans travel. Kansas City is the perfect location for that tournament. It has a contract through 2030, so I hope the Big 12 keeps it going after that.
Yeah, I think we should move football there as well. I think that'd be a blast to do.
Mm-hmm. Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah. Or whatever their new stadium is going to be.
Yeah,
Not
good
sure.
point.
My number 1, Caleb, round it out, finish it off back at basketball. The FSU managers had a little celebration, a little dap up, some handshakes after advising the coach to challenge it, and it ended in success. So shout out them, managers making basketball go round. Things you'll love to see.
Shout out managers. Crucial role. My number 1, Bam Adebayo, 83 points.
He did
in a
that.
basketball game. Now, 46 free throws is kind of nasty. But it was
You
still
can't foul a man that many times.
No. It was still 83 points. That's crazy. Enough said. Boom. Wow, we are just under 2 hours. My goodness, Casey.
It's
Great
late for
pod.
you over there in Central Time.
What's up?
It's late for you over there in Central Time.
It is. It is probably right to bed after this. But great
I got a
pod.
bracket to finish.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, first 4 starts tomorrow, baby.
Cannot wait.
It's time. It is time. Here we go again. Well, if you stayed to the end, you're a trooper. You're a warrior. You deserve a T-shirt. If you actually do want a T-shirt, though, go ahead and join the Rundown with Caleb and Casey on ESPN Tourney Challenge. Just look that up on the app. You can join. It's public. No password needed. We'll put the link on our Twitter at @the_rundown_pod. And there's a free T-shirt for whoever ends up winning. For Casey Schischler, I'm Caleb Polking. Thank you all for listening. It's March, baby. This is March. Let's get after it. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next week to recap first weekend and preview a little Sweet 16 Elite 8. See ya.